In a tense morning at the Virginia State Courthouse, Hollywood legend Clint Eastwood, 94, was handcuffed mid-trial, sparking a dramatic clash between justice and reputation. The courtroom froze as officers approached, silencing murmurs from the packed gallery. Eastwood, standing tall in a gray suit, maintained his iconic defiance while Judge Douglas Whitaker accused him of obstructing proceedings. The arrest order shocked spectators, but the real twist came when U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi intervened, declaring the lawsuit a First Amendment violation. Her federal motion halted the trial, marking the start of a high-stakes legal battle over free speech. The controversy stemmed from Eastwood's documentary exposing a media conglomerate's manipulation of public information, which triggered a lawsuit accusing him of spreading misinformation. The conglomerate demanded production materials, but Eastwood refused, stating, "They can see the truth in theaters." Judge Whitaker, rumored to harbor bias over a past film, pressed Eastwood aggressively, leading to the contempt charge. Outside, fans rallied with banners while Eastwood's son Scott vowed, "They won't silence him." Meanwhile, prosecutor Eric Samuels framed the film as political propaganda, setting the stage for a showdown. Behind the scenes, Bondi and her DOJ team worked tirelessly, uncovering evidence that the lawsuit was a smear campaign. Legal expert Lena Marquez discovered internal conglomerate emails plotting to destroy Eastwood's reputation, while Daniel Reeves dug into Whitaker's suspicious rulings. Bondi, a staunch free speech defender, saw this as a constitutional crisis. "We're defending every citizen's right to speak," she declared, preparing a federal investigation into Whitaker's bias. The team strategized to expose the conglomerate's coercion, knowing victory required more than courtroom tactics. It needed public trust. Back in court, Samuels called media analyst Dr. Margaret Voss, who claimed Eastwood's data was exaggerated. Yet, under Marquez's cross-examination, investigative journalist Ryan Holt validated the film's sources, dismantling the misinformation argument. When Samuels insinuated political funding, Eastwood retorted, "I used my own money. No agendas, just the truth." Whitaker's persistent skepticism raised eyebrows, especially after Marquez revealed damning conglomerate emails. The gallery erupted, sensing a turning point. Bondi whispered to Reeves, "Whitaker's exposing himself," as the DOJ accelerated its probe into the judge's ties to the conglomerate. The trial's climax came when Marquez presented Whitaker's biased rulings to the Office of the Inspector General, forcing his early retirement. The court dismissed all charges, ruling Eastwood's film-protected speech. Fans cheered, headlines hailed the victory, and "We're Stand with Eastwood" trended. Bondi declined a press conference, stating, "Justice doesn't need fanfare." Eastwood, filming in Nevada, reflected, "The legend isn't me, it's those who dare to believe in what's right." The saga became a symbol of resilience, proving truth prevails when defended with courage and strategy. The aftermath of the trial sent shockwaves through political and media circles, with analysts debating its implications for free speech. Eastwood's documentary, now free from legal threats, gained even more attention, drawing record audiences. Critics who once dismissed it as propaganda were forced to reckon with its verified claims. Meanwhile, Whitaker's abrupt retirement fueled speculation, with legal experts calling it a rare accountability moment for judicial overreach. Bondi's strategic use of federal authority set a precedent, showing how the DOJ could intervene when constitutional rights were under attack. The case became a rallying cry for transparency advocates nationwide. In the weeks following the verdict, Eastwood returned to his ranch, where he reflected on the ordeal with quiet satisfaction. "Truth doesn't bend, even when power tries to break it," he told his family. Meanwhile, Bondi's team continued reviewing similar cases where free speech had been weaponized against dissenters. The DOJ's investigation into the media conglomerate expanded, uncovering a broader pattern of suppressing unfavorable narratives. Eastwood's defiance had not only cleared his name but also exposed systemic corruption, inspiring other whistleblowers to come forward. His film, once under legal siege, was now taught in journalism schools as a case study in media integrity. The public's reaction was overwhelming, with support pouring in from across the political spectrum. Even some of Eastwood's longtime critics acknowledged his courage in standing up to corporate bullying. Social media buzzed with memes comparing him to his iconic movie characters, Dirty Harry, the man with no name, now fighting real-life injustice. Meanwhile, Bondi received quiet praise from civil liberties groups, a rare crossover moment in polarized times. The trial's transcript became a bestseller, with legal scholars dissecting every twist. It was more than a courtroom drama. It was a cultural moment reinforcing America's foundational values. Behind closed doors, the media conglomerate faced internal turmoil, with executives resigning amid the fallout. Shareholders demanded reforms, and advertisers pulled funding fearing backlash. The DOJ's leaked findings triggered congressional hearings on media monopolies, with lawmakers citing Eastwood's case as evidence of unchecked corporate influence. Meanwhile, independent filmmakers, emboldened by the outcome, launched projects exposing other hidden power structures. Eastwood, though victorious, remained wary. "This isn't over," he told a friend. "They'll find new ways to silence people. We have to stay vigilant." His words proved prophetic as new battles over censorship emerged. Bondi, now a symbol of principled leadership, faced both admiration and backlash. Some accused her of overreach, while others hailed her as a defender of democracy. She remained focused, using the case's momentum to push for stronger protections against slap lawsuits, legal tactics used to intimidate critics. Eastwood, meanwhile, donated his legal settlement to a free speech nonprofit, ensuring others could fight similar battles. The two unlikely allies, the Hollywood legend and the Attorney General, had forged a partnership that transcended politics, united by a shared belief in justice. Their story became a blueprint for resisting oppression. The film's impact extended beyond borders, with international screenings sparking debates about press freedom worldwide. In countries with state-controlled media, activists screened pirated copies, using Eastwood's story as a rallying cry. The U.S. State Department, in an unexpected move, cited the case in its annual Human Rights Report, praising the resilience of American institutions. Back home, Eastwood's ranch became a pilgrimage site for free speech advocates, while Bondi's DOJ office fielded requests from global activists seeking advice. What began as a legal skirmish had grown into a movement, proving art could indeed change the world. As the dust settled, Eastwood returned to directing, this time a project about whistleblowers. "Guess I've got more stories to tell," he quipped. Bondi, meanwhile, considered a run for higher office, with supporters urging her to bring her no-nonsense approach to Washington. The media conglomerate, though weakened, regrouped, hiring crisis PR firms to rehab its image. But the public's trust had eroded and ratings plummeted. The trial's legacy was clear. Attempts to silence truth often backfired, and those who fought back could tilt the scales of power. Eastwood's final words on the matter? Just don't let the bastards grind you down. Years later, the trial was taught in law schools as Eastwood versus Whitaker, a landmark case on judicial bias and free speech. Bondi's federal motion became a standard tactic for defending First Amendment cases, while Eastwood's film was preserved in the National Archives as a cultural artifact. Whitaker, living in obscurity, gave no interviews, though rumors swirled about a tell-all book. The media conglomerate eventually rebranded, but its reputation never fully recovered. Meanwhile, new filmmakers cited Eastwood's courage as inspiration, ensuring his legacy extended beyond cinema into the fight for truth itself. The story's enduring appeal lay in its simplicity, a lone icon against a corrupt system, with justice prevailing against the odds. It resonated in an era of deepfakes and disinformation, where truth felt increasingly fragile. Eastwood, ever the stoic, shrugged off the hero narrative. "I just told a story," he said, but Bondi knew better. "You reminded people that power isn't absolute," she told him at a quiet dinner. Their battle had exposed cracks in the system, and through those cracks, light poured in. The end, or perhaps just the beginning. In Nevada, Eastwood's latest film, wrapped under the desert sun, its theme echoing his real-life fight. Crew members, many of whom had followed the trial closely, worked with renewed purpose. "This one's different," a cinematographer remarked. "It's got teeth." Meanwhile, Bondi's DOJ reforms gained traction, with bipartisan support for anti-censorship laws. The media, chastened by the backlash, began self-policing in ways once thought impossible. The trial had forced a reckoning, proving that even in a divided age, some truths were unshakable. And as the credits rolled on Eastwood's new project, one line stood out: "The truth isn't always pretty, but it's all we've got." The cultural ripple effects continued, with Eastwood's trial inspiring plays, podcasts, and even a limited series adaptation. Legal dramas suddenly featured more First Amendment cases, while law students debated Bondi's tactics in moot court. The media conglomerate's downfall became a cautionary tale in business schools, a study in hubris. Yet Eastwood, ever humble, avoided the limelight. "Let the work speak," he told his biographer. Bondi, too, declined Hollywood offers, preferring policy over pageantry. Their silence spoke volumes. True change required action, not applause. In a twist of irony, the conglomerate's former headquarters was purchased by a free speech nonprofit, which erected a plaque honoring Eastwood's fight. Tourists posed beside it, some reenacting his famous courtroom glare. Meanwhile, Bondi's DOJ reforms led to the dismissal of several frivolous lawsuits against journalists. "The system works when we make it," she said in a rare interview. Eastwood, watching from his ranch, allowed himself a rare smile. The battle had been worth it. As the sun set, he tipped his hat to no one in particular and walked inside, the cowboy's final fade-out. The trial's anniversary sparked retrospectives, with pundits debating its long-term impact. Had it truly curbed media overreach, or was it a fleeting victory? Eastwood, now 95, ignored the noise, focusing on a new script, a comedy, for once. Bondi, eyeing a Senate seat, framed her campaign around accountability. Meanwhile, Whitaker's memoir flopped, its excuses ringing hollow. The public had moved on, but the precedent remained. Truth had a defender in the DOJ, and art could still shake the world. As Eastwood put it, "Not bad for an old man." The next generation of filmmakers, raised on Eastwood's defiance, pushed boundaries further, armed with smartphones and subpoena-proof encryption. Citizen journalism surged, and corporate media struggled to adapt. Bondi's policies ensured fewer whistleblowers faced retaliation, while Eastwood's nonprofit funded indie films exposing corruption. The trial had sparked a chain reaction, one that power brokers couldn't contain. At a Q&A, a student asked Eastwood if he'd do it again. "In a heartbeat," he said. "But next time, I'll bring a bigger gun." The crowd roared. Some battles never changed. In the end, the trial's legacy wasn't just legal, it was cultural. It proved that institutions, however flawed, could self-correct when pushed. That individuals, however outgunned, could tilt the scales. Eastwood's film, once nearly buried, now screened annually at the Library of Congress. Bondi's reforms became textbook examples of ethical governance. And Whitaker? A footnote. A cautionary tale for judges who forgot their oath. The system. He had bent but not broken, and as long as stories like Eastwood's were told, the fight wasn't over. Fade to black. The final scene unfolded quietly. Eastwood on his porch, Bondi at her desk, the world turning. The media conglomerate, now a shell of itself, pivoted to harmless entertainment. New laws protected filmmakers from frivolous lawsuits. And in a Virginia courthouse, a new judge, appointed post-Whitaker, cited Eastwood versus Whitaker in a ruling favoring transparency. The cycle repeated, but this time justice had the upper hand. Eastwood's last line in his final film? "Truths, like the desert, harsh, unyielding, but it's where things grow." The audience, knowing the backstory, stood and cheered. Curtains. Years later, a historian called the trial a last stand for old-school integrity. Eastwood, hearing this, chuckled. "Hell, I just didn't like being pushed around." Bondi, retired but influential, mentored young prosecutors, passing on the lessons. The media, humbled, embraced fact-checking with newfound zeal, and in law schools, students debated, was it Eastwood's star power or Bondi's strategy that won the day? The answer, of course, was both. Together, they'd shown that when principle met persistence, even Goliaths fell. The trial's 10th anniversary brought a documentary, Unsilenced, featuring interviews with key players. Eastwood declined, but Bondi gave one, stressing the importance of independent oversight. Whitaker, now a recluse, wasn't approached. The media conglomerate's CEO, ironically, became a whistleblower himself, exposing new abuses. The irony wasn't lost on Eastwood. Life's got a hell of a sense of humor, he mused. The film's tagline? Truth doesn't stay buried. It waits. Audiences left theaters stirred, some even pivoting to activism. The ripple effect endured. In his twilight years, Eastwood gave fewer interviews, but his presence loomed large, a presidential medal, a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yet he prized none as much as a handwritten note from a young journalist. Because of you, I wasn't afraid. Bondi, too, found satisfaction in quiet victories. A censored writer freed, a corrupt judge removed. The trial had been their crucible, forging a bond beyond politics. At a private dinner, they toasted not the win, but what came after. We opened the door, Bondi said. Eastwood grinned. Damn right. Now kick it down. The world moved on, but the trial's lessons didn't fade. Newsrooms adopted Eastwood's mantra, question everything, while courts cited Bondi's precedent to dismiss gag lawsuits. The media conglomerate's archives, declassified by court order, became a treasure trove for researchers, and in a Virginia courthouse, a plaque commemorated the trial. Here, truth prevailed. Eastwood, visiting once, touched it briefly, then walked away. No speech, no fanfare, just a nod. Some victories needed no words. On Eastwood's 100th birthday, a surprise tribute aired, film clips interspersed with courtroom footage. Bondi, now elderly but sharp, appeared via video. You taught us to fight, Clint, not just with fists, but with facts. Eastwood, watching from his ranch, shook his head. Sentimental fools, he muttered. But his eyes glistened. The media, once his adversary, now praised him as a national treasure. The circle was complete. As the screen faded to black, so did he. Content, at last. The trial's final legacy? A shift in the cultural zeitgeist. Trust in media hit record lows, but independent journalism flourished. Bondi's DOJ reforms became bipartisan consensus, while Eastwood's films saw a resurgence. Young lawyers cited Eastwood versus Whitaker in oral arguments, and filmmakers embedded Easter eggs referencing the case. The media conglomerate's HQ, now a museum, featured an exhibit on the trial. Visitors left inspired, some even changing careers. The battle had ended, but the war for truth raged on. Better armed, thanks to two unlikely warriors. And so the story passed into legend, a tale of grit, principle, and the system bending toward justice. Eastwood's cowboy ethos. A man's got to know his limitations, merged with Bondi's legal precision, creating an unshakable blueprint. The media, the courts, the public, all were forever changed. As the credits rolled on this chapter, one truth remained. In a world of spin, the unvarnished facts still packed the hardest punch. And somewhere, Eastwood tipped his hat, Bondi nodded, and the fight lived on. Fade out.